What is up, guys? Welcome back to Bite Size Security. I'm incredibly excited to be back to making videos. I know I've been gone for a little bit, but we are back on the grind. A lot of exciting things have been happening, a lot of developments that I cannot share yet, but I will in due time, don't you worry. But we are back to making videos and finishing what we started. I'm still not OSCP certified. I still need to do that, and I've had to kind of put that on the back burner too to pursue some other things, and we are now back with a focus on that. And to do this, we're going to continue where we left off and do proving grounds, which is great practice. So my last video we did craft 1. There's a craft 2 and we did craft 1. And so in the fashion that we usually did Windows, Linux, we are now going to do Boolean, and the next video will then be craft 2. And I've got the VPN running, the box running, this is the IP. And yeah, let's just get straight into it. What we're doing today is really focusing on my methodology. I'm trying to kind of redo my very first video where I really focused on the note taking, why I do it the way I do it, try and explain everything, show my aliases, the ones I use a lot, and so on and so forth, so that maybe new people that coming in and see my video go, okay, this is a nice video to show me a methodology without the music being too loud. I know. Anyway, so let's get straight into that. We are doing proving grounds and we're doing Boolean. Let's get into it. So as usual, we will create the folders that we need, and we're going to do that into proving and then boxes. Right, there we go. And then we're going to do prep notes and then -p Boolean for the folder that we need, and it should appear on the right. There you go. And then we're going to go into Boolean and start a Sublime text, which is just a Subble, but I do st because how did I do that again? This is in Tmux, I believe. I will have to check how I did that, but either way, st is just to make it quicker. And I'm then gonna just open the whole folder for Boolean, and inside of there I will have enumeration, exploit, loot, and privesc, where I take all of my nodes and files that I might create or whatever, they will be saved here. And what have I done on the right? Well, I've created a notes folder, same as with here, but here I take notes. And basically the tools I'm using, and I'm going to go over everything I do. So I create the folders, I'm inside of here, and I will go into enum external, and while I explain, I'm just going to run my enumeration commands. So by the time I'm done talking, they will be done too. So what I usually run no matter what, and let me just quickly take the IP one more time, and then I can minimize this, put the IP here, and then run scan this IP and save this to rustscan.txt. And while I do that, and I'm using Tmux, that's how I juggle with the panes like that. And then here I'm going to do recon just like this. And basically what I run here, scan, is an alias just for rustscan. And this is that command because rustscan is incredibly fast. And then recon is an alias just for auto recon, right? And I run that with the tool dirsearch. Those are the recon tools I like to use and that I've gotten used to using. Of course, with recon, and I've said this in the past, don't be using auto recon without understanding what the different scripts within auto recon do. So I would recommend for a few boxes, at least 20 or 30 boxes that you do on these platforms, to just do the raw manual reconnaissance. So you use Nmap first, and then you see the different ports, and then you go in on each port, learning the commands that you would do to enumerate these ports. What I do with AutoRecon is just to make it quicker so that my videos don't take 2 hours to make. Anyway, here on the right, what did I create? So I created different folders, the same ones you will see in the directory, in my actual work directory. I'll have general information where I'll paste the scan results and the IP. Loot, where I find flags. I've been working on the Pro Labs a lot, so these flags look a bit different. And then credentials and hashes that I have or haven't cracked. Then I will have here different ports that you usually find on Windows. The SSH, on Linux, the SSH will be there a lot. On Windows, this will be there a lot, SMB and LDAP, and then some others, because it's often Active Directory or whatnot. And this scan is taking quite a while, actually. And then internal, we will get to that, and why it says user 1 and everything. I will get to all of that. My methodology hasn't changed too much, but there's a few things that I have added just to make it nicer, and I will explain all of that when I'm there. Anything else that I should explain? No, I think that is it for now. The scan is finished, perfect timing. So let me just quickly look at that. So I'll go to external, Rust scan, and then this ANSI text, I figured out how to get rid of it. And basically I press Ctrl-Shift-P, and then I just type ANSI, but this ANSI you have to install. So in Sublime Text, you have to install that. Just a Google search and you will figure it out. But basically this I will copy, I'll go into general information and I'll paste it there, quick scan. And so I know that port SSH is open, 22, HTTP on port 80, and some application on port 33017. This is probably an internal application or something like that. We shall see. And my AutoRecon scan should be somewhat far on, so we can get to that. So the quick TCP is usually quite fast, so I'll paste that. Oh, I made a little mistake. Sec. I'll paste that here, and then I'll take the Rust scan and I'll paste that one here. I'll go to the full one. That is not done yet, but the SSH one should be. And then I'll go here and paste that there. And as you can see, I will then go to port 80, and that is also not done yet. Okay, so normally I paste the Nmap scans of each port in here. This is kind of the tedious part of the recon, right? You take the scans, you paste them there, and then you get everything set up. Basically, you put the Nmap of SSH there, you put Nmap of 80 there, and if there's more ports, you do that for each port, right? And then you hone in on one port at a time. So as you could see here with SSH, I'm looking at the scan. It's a simple, rather default SSH scan. You look at the version, nothing really there. And then I usually run SSH audit. I always do. So what I'll do is I'll say SSH audit on our IP, which I have already forgotten. I'll take it from here, there, and I will save that. And I want to save in there, but this is a little parentheses. All of the folders that you create with AutoRecon, or at least that I create with AutoRecon, are created with sudo. So what do I need to do to be able to write to them without having to use sudo? I have to change the permissions of the subfolders created by AutoRecon. Now I do that by using proving perm, which is proving permissions. This as well is an alias, and I can show you what the command for this alias is. It's this sudo chown a recursive dynamo because that's my username, and then give my user permissions to read write on the subfolders on this directory there, boxes. And writing proving perm will then give me those permissions. It will take a second, and now I can write to results. And I'll go to scan, and I'll go into the TCP folder, and then here I will do this, but I will rename it from nmap to audits. It will then take a second to run that, and then if you go to SSH, there will be this here. I will then take the ANSI text away again, and there you have the output. Usually with these boxes, SSH is not the way in, so I do this just for thoroughness sake and to be complete. The thing I'm doing with this note-taking technique is preparing myself to take effective notes, so that when I start writing reports a lot, because I will become a pen tester, I will have the habit of being very thorough with my notes. And this is why I'm doing this. Enough with the SSH rambling. And by the way, we can delete all of these ports. The third one I'll leave open because maybe that 3307 comes out, but I doubt it. Let's get to HTTP. And the nmap scan is done. Everything is in perfect timing today. It's a good day to redo a video. God, it feels good to be back. So port 80. And then what else do we have? We've got the curl robots. So let's go here and just do curl robots like that and paste that there. Then we take the normal curl and we are being redirected. Okay. So we are being redirected. Let's take note of this. Okay. Then we've got a couple of subfolders. Nice, a couple of directories. And we've got Nikto, of course. Let's not do that. And then what else do we have? We've got a screenshot, but we like to do the screenshot ourselves. And what I usually do as soon as I see port 80 is I also open Burp Suite. I open Burp Suite, it's already running, the proxy is already running, so I have to have Burp Suite open, otherwise I cannot connect to a website. And then while I browse the websites, everything goes through procburp, and so later I will just be able to go through it easily. Let me take the IP one more time, general information here, and then here go like that. And the site is called Boolean. The only true free storage. Okay, let's take a screenshot of this. Like that. And we also always try to take a lot of screenshots of things so that later we can go through it all and yeah, just have it for a report. And another thing I do, because I started with SSH, I'll just show you here now. Nothing to report in SSH. Let's move to, and then what I do is HTTP, and then I'll say, I'll take all of that. Let's move to HTTP, and then I'll add a link. I'll then go here. I'll do a pipe and then showcase Boolean HTTP. And I'll find the link to this. And then later what I can do is I just press there and we're in HTTP. And so the path it takes from my very first enumeration in SSH to root will be linked through hypertext. Through hypertext links like I just showcased here. And that will then show a nice thread that you can follow along. And so when I have huge projects, I will still link them and I will know, okay, after this you did that, after that you did that. Because if I look back after years on a specific project, I will know without even a report, maybe I've deleted the report, I can look back on those links and know like, okay, I did this after that. And that is why also I write these little comments and shit. Sorry about that. Yeah, there goes the monetization. No, I'm not monetized yet, but that is why I do that. Anyway, let's get back to business. WhatWeb. Let's take WhatWeb. And then there's this new tool. While doing the academy, and go sign up to Hack the Box Academy, it's the best, I learned about this new tool. And let me just go check if I remember where it is. Tools, Scrapy, is it? Scrapy. Oh, it's just there. Okay, so how did that work again? Scrapy. Okay, let's just try. Let's go to Boolean, enum external, and then let's do Scrapy http / and let's take Scrapy h, and then fetch view version. What do we want to do? Shell, run spider, generate new spider using predefined templates. Yes, let's do gen spider. Okay, I completely forgot how I did that. Basically, what this tool does is it spiders. It does what Burp does in discovering all of the endpoints. Basically, Scrapy does it very, very quickly and efficiently. I will not update you now, but I have to play with it a bit more, and then in my next video it'll be part of my methodology. For now, we'll just leave that open. Sorry for that little parentheses. I'll put this like this. And have I forgot anything? So Scrapy is free. Oh yeah, let's do the search. And then let's do view HTTP like that. Oh, it's already there. Like that. And then let's do view opt seclist discovery web, and then let's do Raft. That's the one I wanted. Raft, and then we are on Linux, so we're doing uppercase and all, and we're doing small files. There you go. We are filtering out for, and we're just checking for files, not for subdirectories, but files. I know the subdirectory, the normal word list that I use also checks for files, but I like to do this just to be thorough. And then I will go into scans and AT, and then I will do deer search, deerbuster, but call it files, and that should work. There you go. You get a bunch of files. It might be the same output as I might have received here already by AutoRecon, but it might not. And it's for the cases where it's not that I do this. And so while that's running, I will start looking at this website. What do we have at this website? So username, let's type admin. That does not work. Okay. Admin password. That also doesn't work. What is the only true free storage? Let me go on, not here, but there. Let me close that, and let's go here. I use Brave to browse and Firefox to proxy everything through Burp, just so that my Burp doesn't get flooded with requests from the open internet, and I keep it clean. The only true storage. Why can I not Google stuff? That's weird. Ooh. Okay, I fixed that. It should be working now again. Let's see if we can ping. Yes, we can. This is on Firefox, so let's go back to browse. Okay, that works. Okay, I had a little scare there, but thankfully we're good. So, the only true free storage. Are you sure? Maybe I have to put that between like that. Yeah, no. Let's just ignore that for now. And let's see, what else do we have on this website? We don't have an account, obviously. So let's see and create one. Remember, everything goes through Burp. So we will look through these requests in a second. Let's create a username, tester, and then email testing. Now tester at testing.com. Password, and register. Your account has been successfully created. Check your email for confirmation. Link to complete for confirmation link to complete the registration process. So first, create this. We'll take a screenshot. Okay, and we'll go back to here and we'll say, as we browse the website, we find that immediately we have to log in, as we saw with the redirection in curl. A redirection to login in curl. There you go. We try common credentials, but they do not work. So we try to create a new account. Is that what it says? Yeah, sure, that should be fine. And we paste that picture there. And then as we created that new account, we get this. As we create this new account, we get this, along with the request and response. Which one was it? It was the post one. This one. Okay. Wow. There's a lot here to dissect. So let's take a screenshot of that and paste that here. This is the request to go along with the registration. And we have created the credentials, the following. The following credentials: username tester, email tester at testing.com, passwords. There you go. And how do we go from here? We go back to the site and we try to log in with these username with that username, passwords. There you go. Tester. There you go. Account confirmation. Let's take a screenshot of this. Trying to log in with the credentials that we have created doesn't work because apparently we need confirmation. There you go. How do we get confirmation? What do we have here? Confirm your account by clicking. Okay, let's try and press edit here. Confirm your account by clicking on the confirmation link sent to your email. All right, here I can send another email. So let's try this. We can press on this. Let's take a screenshot. Let's click edit to see what that functionality does. And I guess we can reconfirm if that is the email address we want to use or not. We can reconfirm whether that is the email we indeed want to use or not. We do see that in big websites. When you forget your password or whatever, you can change the email address that you're sending a verification to. Yeah, and I guess this simulates kind of that functionality. So let's see what this burp request did. It's a post request, so that's interesting. And here we can have, oh, okay, let's see. Let's take a screenshot of this and paste that here. This is the request to go along with this reconfirmation. And we see something different. And here we have patch. So this is like an update to, so within APIs, you update values of a variable. And this method basically launches this function. It's that you have a certain variable, let's say the email variable, because that's the endpoint, and you want to update what's in this endpoint. So you use the patch method, patch function. And here you have the user email that you confirm, the authenticity, and commit, right? So you send this, and then you get this response. And this response comes directly from the API as well, and you have JSON. And this is what's very important, because you have, first of all, the ID. So the ID is not something that we have here. So maybe you could change the ID. You have the username, which is something that is here because this username is linked to that email. But then you have confirmed, and this is what's crucial. We have confirmed false, and this is basically information disclosure, because we know now that within this endpoint of the email, of the profile that we're trying to create, there is a variable that checks whether you are confirmed or not. And this is indeed what this page tries to check. So if this variable false is true, then this website will let us in because it knows that we are confirmed. So the thing now is, how do we change this confirmed true to false? And to do that, we go back to creating our user, I would say, and we try to just add this variable as if it was there. And so how can we do that? We can do that by looking at Okay, let me just first write the notes here, and then we get to that. Okay. So, when sending this request, the response we get is quite interesting because it gives us back more information than we previously had. In the sense, no, than we previously had. The confirmed equals false variable tells us that the server is checking whether our user is confirmed or not. We can thus try to circumvent the confirmation check by tricking the server into thinking we are indeed confirmed by changing the the variable from false to true. A lot of text, but I'm focusing on the methodology, and this is essentially what you have to do. Yes, and how can we do that? Okay, so we look at the requests where we created a profile, and we look at the request where we confirm. And it's probably not going to be the one where we create the profile, but we could try. It's probably going to be the request where we patch our profile, because we can change, like I explained before, the characteristics of this endpoint of our user. And given that this is also the request that is sent here where we confirm, let's try and first manipulate it here. So we know that we have to change confirmed, okay? And we know that the variables here have this sort of way of being written, okay? So let's see. Let's take this and paste it there. This is the variable, not URL encoded. Let's take it URL encoded as well, because that is essentially how it is here. It's a post request. We have to kind of URL encode it here. So let's put that there, like that. This we can ignore, this we can ignore, and then we have to take and user. How should I do this? And commit, like that, and user email. Let's go back to the other and see how it is here. And user, username, and user email, and user. So I'm guessing it's and user confirmed. So we'll say and user, and then confirmed equals true. And this should work. So then we can go here. We can paste that here. Take everything, URL encode it, and try and send it. No, that didn't work because let's do it just like it is here. So and user %5b, and then that will be confirmed, and then %5b again, and then it will be, oh no, d, because that's the closing bracket, and then it will be equals, and then true, and then the other one. There you go. That worked. And you can see now that it went from false to true. We did it. So we can take this and say, we can try to exploit this, which we did here. The variable, blah, 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 blah. Tricking the server into thinking we are indeed confirmed by changing the variable. And this will be the new patch method that we paste in, and we see that it worked. There you go. And so this now should allow us to log in. Let's refresh, and we're in. There you go. That was fun. So let's paste that. The new request that we must send will therefore be the following. And let me also paste this not URL encoded so that it's just like this, and then let me just, you know, be a bit more thorough. A URL encoded not URL encoded. There you go. And then here as well, URL encoded, not URL encoded. And indeed, that worked. We are in. So I hope you understand why I did it in the patching and not in the creating a user. Maybe I could have created a user where it's like that. Let's actually try that. Okay, let's log out and create a new user. Call him Hacker with the username hacker@hacking.com with the password, and then let's intercept this request when it comes in. Intercept on, and then let's fire this register, and we go to burp, and then let's modify it here. So what we can do is just go into our notes and take just the URL encoded confirmed like this and paste that in here, and then forward that, and we have created a user. There you go. Proxy history. So here is our request, and then let's try and log in with that one. Hacker, password, and see if we can immediately log in with him. No. And why? It says because he is probably not. Yeah, he's not confirmed. So we have to do it in the patch. We cannot do it in the create a user. Because also, yeah, no, we have to do it in the patch. I don't really know why, but we have to. But more on that maybe another time. Either way, we're in. So let's log in with our user that we created before, which was tester and password. There you go. So what do we have here? We have a file upload. Always interesting right away. So let's create a file. Now that we are inside of this, we are logged in. Okay, so let's create a test file. And I believe this will be part of exploiting it. So let's just go back and we go to exploit, because everything from now on will get us a shell. So let's do touch test.text. And inside of text, we do echo hello world. And we will pipe that into text. And then let's do test hello world. There you go. And then we try and just upload that. Workspace. Proving grounds. Boxes. Boolean. Exploit text. And let's try and upload that. And here we are. We can download this file. And I can immediately notice up here it's changed. Okay, let's go back and say we can upload any, supposedly, any file. Okay, we begin by simply uploading a test.txt file. And that works. And that works. As we then click set file, it prompts us to download it. And the URL changes. And the URL is rather peculiar. Let's go to our requests. This is the URL generated. Not the URL generated, the request and response. Let me close this. This is the request for the upload. And this is the request for the download. I'll do it like this. Upload. No, sorry. Download. And here is upload, sorry. Upload. And then like that. And what I notice here is this CWD. Let me play around with that a bit. Because when you have an endpoint like this, where it directly loads a variable from the server, often we have file inclusion vulnerabilities. Let me go to my theory in my notes of file inclusion. Let's look at this. Intro to file inclusions. And this, of course, is all in the Academy. So, modern backend languages like PHP, JavaScript, and Java often use HTTP parameters to dynamically generate web pages, making code more efficient and reducing redundancy. However, if it's not securely implemented, attackers can manipulate these parameters to exploit local file inclusion vulnerabilities. And without reading too much from that, essentially, this is the scenario where I would test for local file inclusions. So here, for example, what I could do is do, okay, so CWD reminds me of PWD. What is CWD? CWD. What is the difference between PWD and CWD? Current working directory. Okay, so print working directory and current working directory. So essentially this request looks at the current working directory, and I'm guessing that is just this. Will it find my file? Yes. So if I do, let's go back and send this, it will then not go back, but it won't also give me an error. So let's try and do this and this, and then say the folder is Etsy. So now we're in the current working directory Etsy, and let's do file password, because that is the Etsy. I'm not going to do that here. The Etsy password file. Let's send that. And that doesn't work. Let's do it like this, like that. No. Let's do maybe some more. Oh, it was just a bit more, and that worked. So the current working directory can be modified to going back a bit to the Etsy folder, and then we can find another file in there. So this is a classic file inclusion vulnerability. So what do we learn from this? Let's go to our notes. By playing, we notice that in the URL there is a CWD variable. This means current working directory, and by playing around with that a bit, we can essentially change the current working directory by traversing through the system folders to the folder. My explanations are a bit rusty. I need to get back into the hand of things, but I understand it, and you understand what I'm saying, and writing is just the notes in it. To the folder Etsy, and by inputting the name, passwd into the file variable, we can thus read the legendary Etsy password file. And what do we learn from this Etsy password file? That we have a user Remy. This is very important, because now we learn that we have a user Remy on the system. From here we can exploit and get an SSH, or at least try, we can try to exploit this file inclusion vulnerability. And get a session as Remy on the system. Let's try that. And then here I will also do a hyperlink. Go here, pipe, showcase, boolean, and then exploits, because now we are exploiting. Let's press here and then there. And now we are in exploits. There you go. And so how are we going to exploit this? Okay. We are going to exploit this by, first of all, we're going back here. And we are trying to do all of this here. So we can go back, 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 and then home, and then into Remy. And let's try and not take a file. Damn, okay, that works. By just playing with the URL a bit more, we can essentially traverse the entire file system. So we are here into Remy, and the local.txt would be there, but we're not going to touch that. We are going to first get a session. And the way we're going to get the session is by putting our key into authorized keys here. So let's say that we are going to get a session by inserting our public key, our public key into Remy's authorized keys. Okay, how are we going to do that? So we're going to SSH keygen. Yes. Override yes. Enter passphrase no. No. There we go. And then we're going to cat SSH rsa.pub. There you go. And we're going to do touch authorized keys. And then we're going to take this. We're going to do echo -n, paste that like that, and paste that into, save that into authorized keys like this. I'm going to take a screenshot of all of that. Let me take a screenshot perfectly. Yeah, like that. That from here to there, and then like this. We first create an authorized keys file. With our public key in it. And we try to upload that. Okay, so given that we are here inside of the SSH folder, we could do this in burp, but I'll just do it here. We can now do browse, authorized keys, open, and upload. And that worked. And so now Let's see. That worked. So now we should be able to just SSH in, and let's refresh just to make sure that it's still there. There you go. And then what can we do? We can just do SSH Remy at the IP which I have here. Yes. And bam! We're in. There you go. And bam. We are in as Remy. There you go. We are now. Let's enumerate. And then here again, I will take a hyperlink to showcase Boolean internal. And that will then be user 1. But as I click here and go here and change that to Remy, it will then automatically, let's go into exploit, it will then automatically rechange this name to Remy instead of user 1. Pretty cool. Obsidian, it's the best. So we are inside. Let's do that again. Okay, so what do we do when we are inside? So first ls and we cat local.txt. I'm not going to do that because I will not show you the flag. You're going to do that yourself. But I will post the flag here as in I have done it. There you go. And then what else do we have here? We have, let's show all the folders. I noticed before that within this SSH folder, there was this keys folder, CD keys. And this is pretty interesting. We noticed before within this SSH folder there was a non-typical keys folder. And these keys, can I read them? I can. I can. I can, and roots. I can. Let's see the properties of these. Maybe, yeah, they're all read writes. I can read and write. Yeah, this root one is interesting. So let's just do wait, can I use this tool, this key? So let's do cat root, then let's open a second pane, and then let's go back to Privesk, do touch ID RSA like this, and then go back up and copy that. Like that. Go down, vim ID RSA, and paste it. Like that, save that, and then do SSH roots at DIP sorry, SSH dash I ID RSA. Oh, damn it. That doesn't work. Let's try and do that from here. Let's do SSH dash I roots at roots, then localhost, I guess. Too many authentication failures. I haven't really tried too many times. But this is interesting because I didn't really try many times. Trying to use this root key gives me the following error. I'm really seeing that. Receive disconnect. Let's go check this out. Too many failures. Run SSH and L to get the list of keys that the agent will supply. The problem here is that each incorrect key that is offered and failed counts as a failed login attempt. In this case, there will be multiple failed login attempts before we get the correct key. And this results in the too many authentication failure. Okay, to solve this, we update the SSH config file and tell SSH to explicitly only use this key. We need to add the following 2 lines to the exact host match session. Identities only and identity agent none. The first tells the SSH. Okay, but can I? Wait, you can also set those values as options. Oh. Okay, let me try this. Oh, that worked. Oh, my reaction. Oh God, my reaction. Well, anyway, we are roots. So here you see how, wow. That was incredible. I fucking love hacking, man. How a Google search can help you out. Okay, so thank you. And a quick Google search brings us to the following website. And let's do it like this. Here, add external link, like that. And essentially, we can add the -o identities only equals yes. Is it like that? Yes. Flag to circumvent this error. And this is essentially Privesk, so let's take all of this and let's escalate our privileges to root here, like that. Pipe showcase boolean Privesk, and then we can go there, and then we say Remy to roots, paste that there, and then the command that we used, and then a screenshot that worked. And we are root. And we can now go to root and print the proof.txt. And with that, we have successfully rooted the box Boolean. That was nice. That was a fun one, and it was very fun, and it allowed me to really show my methodology, I think. And I didn't make too many mistakes, so the editing of this should be pretty quick as well. I'm very happy to be back. This was very, very fun. And let's just do a quick resume. Essentially, we can delete this one. So what did we do? We started by doing enumeration, as we always do. We did recon and we did a RUSSCAN, which gave us some output, and then we also used SSH audit for thoroughness sake. We went through the website and saw that we were prompted with a login page, and inside of that login page we could create, because we didn't have, I forgot one thing. Let me just quickly go back to that, because that should be done here like this. There you go, now we're complete. Essentially, we didn't have credentials, so we opted for creating a new user. And this new user could not be used to log in because we were not confirmed. Account wasn't confirmed. But by pressing edit and then confirming that email address, we noticed that we had some information disclosure, in the sense that it gave us a variable that we didn't know before, which we could manipulate. So the API gave us a variable confirmed, and we could then use that to craft a new patch method to say that we are indeed confirmed. And let me take a screenshot of that of here, like this, and like that, and show that we are indeed confirmed, and that allowed us to log in. And so when we logged in, we uploaded a file, just a text file, to see if we have permissions to upload, and we did. And when we did that, we noticed that the URL changed. The URL gave us a current working directory and a file, and this kind of led me to believe that there was maybe a file inclusion vulnerability, because having your endpoints like that loading endpoints dynamically, files dynamically, is rather dangerous. And so I tried to do a path traversal and read an internal file, etc password, and that worked. And so with that, we kind of figured out that there was a user Remy in there. So from there, we could try and exploit this. We could traverse the entire system, go to Remy, and kind of read everything we have there, and go to SSH and upload essentially a public key that we generated for ourselves, or enter it into authorized keys, which SSH knows, and just log in, because now our public key was authorized to log in. And as we logged in, we can then start enumerating again, and we did. But while browsing SSH before, we noticed that there was a keys folder, and inside of these keys folder was a few interesting files. So as we were given that we were inside, we decided to go, let me go back, browse these files, and we saw that we could read them all. Let me go here, let's go back, and let's close that, like that. Let's take a screenshot of this too. Here. And yeah, so we could read all of these keys, and also try and log in with one of these keys. But then it gave us this error, too many authentication failures, which was weird because we hadn't tried that many times to log in. We tried an exact amount of once on our local, which I now deleted, We tried from our host to log in remotely, and that didn't work at all. It asks us for a password. So we tried to do the same locally by just logging into root on localhost, and that gave us this error, like I said. And a quick Google search to Stack Overflow had these wonderful gentlemen or women, whatever, that gentlemen or gentlewomen, let's call them gentlewomen, giving us a tip that we could use this variable identity agent or identities only, and that would circumvent that constraint. So we went ahead and tried that, and with an unbelievable reaction of myself, we found that that worked indeed, and we got root. And that's it. That was Boolean, a rather easy but fun box. Thank you guys for watching, for the support. I hope you're as happy as I am that I am back. And we'll try and keep this going. Please like, subscribe, share the video, and let's get the views back up. And let's get this rolling. So with this, I'm out. Peace.